Now let's talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. So if you look at this first set here, this first set is actually parallel lines, and the second set, they're perpendicular lines. So we're going to talk about these parallel lines first. So one thing I want to talk about is the slope of these parallel lines. So first, I'm going to take 2 points that seem to be nice points. And what I mean by nice points is points that have both a integer for the x values and the y values. And those will be 2 points that would do that for me. Now, if I think about the idea of the rise over run here, I can see that I go over 2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise would be 4 and my run would be 2. So my m would then equal 2. So if I do the same thing for the other line here, let's see what happens here. Now this is moved over. It's kind of hard to see, but it should actually, here's almost a good point. These are really hard to go by here, but this one looks pretty good, and so does this one. All right, so looking at this one then, I'm going to go over 1 and up, and up 2. So that's going to be 2, that's going to be 1. So my m for this line is going to be 2 over 1, which m then equals 2. Okay, so that's what this one is. So we can see that the slopes are the same. And hopefully that makes sense that if I have 2 parallel lines, the slopes are the same because they'll never intersect. So they have to be the same. If this one's even tilted slightly, at some point they'll intersect. So we can't have that. So they have to be the same. So one thing I can say about parallel lines is they have the same slope. Now let's take a look at these other 2 here. Okay, let's take a look at these 2 lines. These 2 lines are perpendicular. I drew them that way, and you can tell by looking at them that, yeah, that looks pretty good. So now, when I look at these 2 lines, or when I talk about the slope of these 2 lines, let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to pick 2 nice points. So I'll pick this point here and this point here. Those both hit. And again, I'm picking points in such a way that the x and y components are integers. So this one here is 2, 0, and this one here is 4, -1. Now that doesn't matter here. We don't have to deal with these because we're just talking about the slope here. So the slope is going to be down 1, so -1, and to the right 2. So my slope here is going to be -1/2. Okay, and then for the other one, let's do the green one now. What points am I going to pick? I'll pick this point here and this point here. And again, I'm going to the right 1 and then up 2. So rise over run, my m for this is going to be 2 over 1, which equals 2. So now, one thing about perpendicular lines is, notice the slopes. So this is 2 here, and this is a -1/2. Now, how we find slopes of perpendicular lines, one way we say this is we say that the slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So that means if I take, and a reciprocal is a flip of the numbers. So if I had the number 6, a reciprocal of that would be 1/6. I flip the number. Now another thing that's going on here is I just didn't say reciprocal, I said negative reciprocal. So let's say I had a 1/2. So then to flip that number, it would be a -2. But then if I say a negative of that reciprocal, then it's going to be a +2. And that's what we see up top here. So if I flip it and change the sign, that's an easy way to think of a negative reciprocal. So just to recap, parallel lines have the same slope, while perpendicular lines, the slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So again, I can flip one and change the sign, and it should be the other if they're perpendicular.